Welcome back, folks. We're now joined by Chris Durkin, who's the clerk of Essex County. Good to see you, Chris.
Great seeing you, Steve. Thank you.
Everybody know what the clerk does in Essex County?
Well, our main function is elections. We help to manage the elections in Essex County. We process U.S. passports, swear-in notary publics, register county business names, IDs. I can even perform marriages. So we're all inclusive.
Well, look, we're doing this on the 22nd of September. It'll be seen before and after November 3rd, that big election. Lots of confusion about mail-in voting.
Yes,
the president has said, others have said as well, but primarily the president, this is a fraud. This is a hoax, that thousands of ballots are being sent to people who's dead, who already voted 3 times. This is ridiculous. It's already rigged.
Not true.
Mail-in voting, you say?
Not true, Steve. We are mailing ballots to all registered voters. So if you're a qualified registered voter, we're mailing you a ballot. And what's interesting about vote-by-mail voting across the country is that 4 years ago in 2016, 25% of the voters voted by mail. Now in 2020, it's going to be more than 75% of the voters voting by mail. So
but hold on, was President Trump one of the people who voted by mail?
Yes, he did. He votes by mail every election.
But hold on, Chris, you can clarify something, because when the president was asked about this, and again, this will be seen after, this is not about this election by itself. It's about the electoral process, the integrity of it, the fact that people trust who we say wins the election and who loses. The president said that's totally different. That was an absentee ballot. He requested it, as opposed to just you and your colleagues sending out mail-in ballots, whether people want it or not.
Well, Steve, here's what I'll say, is the governor of New Jersey actually made it easier for voters, because he's taking out a step to the process where you have to apply. So everyone's getting the first chance to vote by mail. If you don't vote by mail, then you get a chance at the polling place to vote provisional ballot. So you're getting an extra opportunity to cast your vote. And it's a bipartisan process. So the county clerk mails the ballots out, but the Board of Elections, which is made up of 4 commissioners, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, they verify the ballots, they count the ballots. So the process is a bipartisan process.
So someone says, hey, wait, Chris Durkin, I saw him run, he's a Democrat. I see a D after his name. If there's a county clerk or an election official that's a Democrat, there's a problem. You seem to be saying that it's bipartisan because of this Board of Elections?
Yeah, the Board of Elections, they count the ballots. So, and it's set up to be a bipartisan process with 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats who verify every ballot. They verify every signature. So when you go to the polls and you sign the poll book, the board worker is supposed to verify that signature, that you are who you say you are, just like this process would vote by mail. You sign the certification envelope. That is saying that you voted that ballot, and the Board of Elections verifies that signature to process that ballot.
But doesn't the US Postal Service complicate all this? Meaning, there's lots of questions about whether the Postal Service can handle, whether they have the staff, whether they have the infrastructure, the technology, whatever, to handle this. Doesn't this bring the US Postal Service into this in a way it's never been into it before, into voting?
In a way it does, but I'll say, Steve, we are sending ballots out much earlier. We are sending ballots out 37 days before Election Day. Those 5 states that do all vote by mail, they mail their ballots between 21 and 24 days before Election Day.
Which states, Chris?
Those states are
which states?
Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Utah, and Hawaii. And they do full vote by mail elections. And they're sending their ballots out 3 weeks before Election Day, and they're able to do the process. We're going to send the ballots out earlier than that, so the voters have a chance to get their ballots back. And you'll have prepaid postage on the return ballots. Not only that, there will be secure ballot drop boxes, which the county owns, which the county will pick up on a daily basis. So you can bypass the Postal Service, put it in a secure ballot drop box. There's one in every municipality in Essex County. There's multiple, there's 15 plus in every county. So that helps the process in getting the ballots back as quickly as possible.
But Chris, isn't there a really good chance that the way we've historically found out who wins the presidency, the night of the election or into the late morning hours of the next day, right? Because it's not by popular vote. Last time I checked in the Constitution, it is still by the Electoral College. Hillary Clinton may have won by 3 million votes in the last election, the popular vote. She lost bigly, as the president would like to say, in the Electoral College. isn't there a real good chance, Chris Durkin, the Essex County Clerk, that we may not know the night of the election because so many people are voting in person and by mail, and not all those votes will be counted by then, particularly in critical states like Michigan, like Wisconsin, like Florida, like Ohio, like Pennsylvania? Good chance we're not going to know.
It's so true. And it's a great question and a great point, Steve, because elections now that are done all paper, and that's what it's gone to. It's mostly paper. So elections and campaigns begin earlier and they last longer to count. So the old days where 90% of the voters voted on a voting machine, whether that machine was mechanical or electronic, and we knew 90% plus of the results on election night. Now, since it's all paper, I mean, there's going to be over 300,000, 350,000 paper ballots cast just in Essex County, millions throughout New Jersey. And it's going to take, the process is going to take longer to verify the winners, especially in close races. Like you said, the battleground states are going to be a long task.
And by the way, in New Jersey, there are 2 congressional races. Help me on this, Jackie Heyer. I believe it's District 2 and District 3 down at the Jersey Shore is District 3. District 2, I believe, is further south where Congressman Van Drew, a former Democrat, now a Republican, all the way down the line with President Trump. Those are even fewer votes, which means it may be harder to know who wins those congressional seats, which has a lot to do with the balance of power in the United States House.
That's exactly right. I mean, you said it before, the Electoral College makes this race a very close race, because if you're just targeting 6 to 8 states and those states are going to be close, it might take a few weeks to count all those ballots in a close contest. And you said it, congressional races are even a smaller sample.
But you know, Chris, let's play this out for a second. And by the way, is it fair to say, Chris, that whatever happens on November 3rd, this mail-in voting is the wave of the future? There'll be more and more of this mail-in voting, even after a vaccine, even after the pandemic that we're in is much better than it is. It will never, quote, go away. I hope it does, but probably won't. Are you saying mail-in balloting is the wave of the future?
It seems to be, Steve. And just like you, I like going to the polls. I like the communal aspect, meeting my neighbors, seeing that I like casting my vote, at the polling place on a machine. I enjoy that. Yeah, absolutely. And it does seem to be that this is the wave of the future, the vote by mail, because I think a lot of states are thinking it's another opportunity to have more votes cast. So if you're giving voters a chance early to vote, and then you're giving them another chance on election day, voting on a provisional paper ballot, they think it increases. And it shows in those 5 states, there's an increase in turnout for every election. They're the 5 of the top states as far as turnout goes in the country.
Chris, before I let you go, I've got a few seconds left. Are you confident that any fraud, election fraud, voting fraud will be picked up in this election if there is such a thing?
I am. And the FBI just testified to Congress that there is zero proof of organized voter fraud for vote by mail.
Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, testified that.
Yes, he did. And I think I'm confident in the system that we'll pick up any issues that arise. And my biggest concern in this election is misinformation. It's not hacking, although we're vigilant as far as hacking goes, but it's misinformation. And we see that with foreign actors and domestic actors. They're trying to throw mud at the wall. They're trying to make people distrust the system. And I don't think there's any reason to distrust the system. It's a bipartisan effort that's meant to have every vote heard.
Chris Durkin is the Essex County Clerk. There are 21 counties in New Jersey. There are counties across this nation. It is the clerk in one's community that administers these elections. It is the Attorney General's office that verifies these elections. Fair to say, the Attorney General's office, Secretary of State. Am I wrong about that, Chris?
The Secretary of State is advised by the Attorney General. So it's the same state, agencies that help monitor.
Chris Durkin, Essex County Clerk, thank you so much, my friend, for joining us. We'll talk after the election as well.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, the Russell Berry Foundation, MD Advantage Insurance Company, the Northward Center, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Johnson & Johnson, Valley Bank, Berkeley College, and by Promotional support provided by NJ.com and by Jaffe Communications.
The essence of the North Ward Center is ingrained in our values, thoughts, and actions. What began as a storefront on Bloomfield Avenue has evolved into a life-changing community nonprofit. The mansion is steeped in tradition, but with all of its grandeur, the true essence of the North Ward Center is in the people we serve. So as the North Ward Center commemorates 50 years of service, let's also celebrate the many opportunities yet to come.